Hi, everybody. Happy Wind Down Wednesday. I am Sistah Scifi, CEO and founder of Sistah Scifi. Here, as I am most Wednesdays, working hard to make Wednesday your new favorite day of the week. If you somehow made it here and you don't follow our Instagram, today we are discussing Nubia, the Awakening. I literally finished it like maybe 30 minutes ago. I enjoyed it. Oh, yay! Ice cream paints. I'm glad you liked our post. This week we will be joined by Omar. Hey, Timothy. Omar Epps and Clarence A. Haynes, who are the authors of the book. This is the first of a trilogy, so today is a particularly special treat. If you can't tell, I'm really excited about it. I really enjoyed it. I'm a fangirl for a little bit. It's definitely for fans of Black Panther and Children of the Blood and Bone. Obviously, definitely like a YA West African fantasy. But for me, it also was very reminiscent of X-Men. For those of y'all, I don't read a lot of comics, so when I say X-Men, I'm more referring to the movies. But like X-Men, there's a conflict that felt very much a lot like Professor X and Magneto. Ice cream plants. Years ago, my homegirl and I were speaking life into Octavia Butler TV series. So happy that it's like, yes, okay. So stepping away from Nubia, yes, Kindred is coming to FX. Yes, I'm super excited. The trailer is everything. So I'm super excited about it. Yes, the Post-it notes. I went in. I posted notes, everything. Obviously, those aren't all questions because we'd be here all day, and two, there'd be lots of spoilers. So I'm really excited about that. So before I start to ramble, let me know how your week has been. So I see that we're excited about Kindred and the new trailer that came out this week. What else are you excited about in the literal world? Because a lot of stuff happened this week. So Nubia, the Awakening, released this week. Bloodmark, the second book in the Legendborn cycle, released this week. If you place a pre-order with us, we are shipping them. Hey, Tam Tam Rams. The World We Made came out last week. So there's a lot. So what are you excited about that has released this week? Just let me know in the chats. Yeah, I was like, what? While we wait for Clarence and Omar to join us. Ice cream plants. I see you see the same with Post-it notes. This is a new thing, right? I think I'm used to doing it in like the digital space. And at one point I was like, oh yeah, I'll have it cut out quoted. So this color is for quotes and this color is for like interesting things. And now I just picked the sticky note that matches the book cover the most. So that's why we went with teal. Tam Tam, I'm also trying to finish. Oh, you trying to finish The City We Became. Okay. I hear you. I finished The City We Became. I'm trying to finish The World We Made. I started the audiobook today. I am very optimistic that well, I'll finish this book. I definitely appreciate 2x and 3x speed, to be honest. For those, yes, Post-it notes. But these are handmade Post-it notes. So I take regular style Post-it notes and then I cut them to fit the book, because that's how we roll out here in these streets. But I know that there are people who make like book note stickies, and I'm just not that advanced as of yet, but maybe I should get that in my life. Okay, so it is now 5:00 Pacific Standard Time. So let me send invites to Clarence and Omar. Hopefully the technology upon me. For those of y'all who meditate, small that the technology goddess is. Oh, is that Clarence?
Hey, Isis.
Look at the technology goddess smiling. I'm just like, look at this shirt. Where did I get this shirt?
Thank you. It's a Nubia shirt.
I was like, I want this shirt in my life. I want it in all the sizes, in all the colors.
You would have to speak to Mr. Epps. Omar.
How you doing? And we're super privileged because I don't see the sunglasses. I'm like so excited. I
How
was
you
like,
doing?
oh, I'm gonna wear
How you doing?
sunglasses, so I'm happy. Yay! Um, for everybody out there, we're discussing Nubia, the Awakening with Clarence
Thank you
A.
for having
Haynes
us.
and
Thank you
Omar
for having us.
Epps. So I'll pause there. Gentlemen,
Um,
please introduce yourself.
Omar Epps from Brooklyn, New York. And no, I'm just joking.
No, I was like BK for life. I mean, I was born in
Oh, you was
Harlem.
born in
I'm not
Harlem?
gonna hold that against you, but yes,
All
continue.
right. Well, you know.
I was born in Harlem.
Wow. So we have it's a trio then. You're Harlem, Manhattan.
There
Omar's
you go.
Brooklyn. I was born in the Bronx.
Oh yeah, I don't know the Bronx. Okay, I have a whole nother set, but let's focus. Let's do introductions first. Okay, so Omar, you are an author now. Like this is your second, like anyway. From Brooklyn, continue your introductions, and then we'll do
Yeah.
round robin.
My name is Omar Epps, Brooklyn, New York. I'm an artist, entrepreneur, and I guess now author. Um, and you know, I'm just thankful to be here, sharing this virtual space with everyone. And what I would say about Nubia the Awakening is, and I've been saying this, it's a necessary story. It's necessary. It needs to be told and it needs to be heard. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. And because all we're doing is, you know, we're giving the younger generations the breadcrumb trail. The underbelly of the book is about unity and it's about hope. And I'm really excited because the feedback so far from people who have read the book has been really great. So that's just like, you know, it's like I don't know, getting hit by the ocean when you're laying in the sand. Like it's so beautiful, you know. And this is my co-pilot,
Yay, yay, that's
the
beautiful.
incredible.
Omar, thank you. Hey, everyone needs to know just how hard Omar's been working the past couple of days. He's been on show after show and been doing interview after interview and continuing to be gracious. So I want to give it up to you, Omar, for being so devoted and being such a wonderful author, you know, and doing this part of the work. Hey everyone, I'm Clarence A. Haynes. I am a writer and book editor who loves all things sci-fi, fantasy. It is such an honor to have worked with Omar on Nubia and to be here. I love the Sistah Scifi site. I don't have the words. And Isis, thank you so much for having us and giving us the opportunity to talk about project and be part of your space. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I just to be honest, I've been emailing like Penguin Random House since I heard about the book. I was like, can this happen? Please make this happen. So I'm ecstatic. You're getting all the fangirl energy right now. Okay, so there's so much to ask, and I promise most of the conversation will be about the book, but a lot of us grew up watching Love and Basketball, so I have to shout out that and Juice, and of course we love the character Foreman, so we had to hold space for all those things. I see Foreman in the chat, Foreman, so we had to hold space for all that good stuff. Just so you know, we know. And there's even like a reference in the book. There's like two competitive basketball players fall in love. I was like, I know that movie.
You are a close reader, Isaac.
Yeah.
Easter eggs.
So, how did this come together? And what does this mean? What did it mean to co-write Nubia the Awakening?
The origin of the idea for me, we live in a tumultuous world, right? And so one day I'm sitting around the house with my kids and I'm just wondering about where everything's going. And I was like, man, what if love itself was illegal and then reborn through a 14-year-old kid who doesn't know that he is love itself? And that's where it kind of germinated for me, like from the beginning. Like that was the nugget. And then I just started to build out this mythology. And I was so fortunate to be part of with Clarence, who is, I feel like, you know, you use the word co-writer, it's like I gained a friend because we had hours and hours and hours of conversations and sometimes some really intense debates and, you know, and Clarence I'm the 2 or 3 in the morning guy. Hey, what you doing? Yeah. So I'm thinking, you know, you know, because I'm a creator. And so, but that's really where the idea came from. And then, you know, we started building out this world and this universe essentially. And New York is the other character in the book. I'm born and raised in New York, so I felt it was only right to tell the story from that geographical place because I know it like the back of my hand. And then it was envisioning New York in 2098, where it's not about climate change. It's like climate has ravaged, you know, in the sense of things are still going how they are. You know, what the world would really look like. And then, you know, the idea of a utopian society was very dear to me. The idea that there was a place that existed that where humans were in perfect balance with the land, the animals, the plants, every morsel of existence, so much so that they had gifts. Each individual had a gift that, you know, fed back into the community. And then it was, okay, what if you disrupt that? Then, you know, what happens to those people? And this is where our book picks up.
I love it. And I love like the origin of the idea of being like love itself being a superpower. So Clarence, Omar, give me an insight. What were one of those 2 a.m. conversations as you developed these really amazing characters who were nothing like, when I saw the cover, I'm like, oh, these are besties. It's kind of like a Stranger Thing friendship. But I read the book, I'm like, that's different. So what was one of the 2 a.m. conversations? And Omar, I'm just looking at the chat. I don't know if there's an option to talk to us without your headphones,
You don't
but
want
it's
me to
whatever
have
works best
because I
for
have my
you.
earbuds in.
Yeah, because it's a little bit
Okay.
staticky for some of the people listening.
Then turn the Bluetooth off.
Yeah, and then I think it'll go straight through your sound audio. That
Sorry,
might be
guys.
better.
Hey, guys.
No problem. The technology goddess is like here with us. She just, you know, taking a quick turnaround. So yeah, so what were one of the 2 a.m. conversations?
One of the 2 a.m. conversations, let's see, what's something okay, so the you just Isis, you just pointed out this relationship between the characters and how you thought it was going to be like they're all besties and everyone's getting along, right? So Uzochi and Lencho are cousins, and they're cousins who are at odds. And I hope Omar will get
Yes,
back
he's
to
coming back.
us. And they're cousins who are at odds, and who have very distinct, as you know, very distinct world views that's really shaped by their experiences at home with their parents. Uzochi doesn't, his dad, he didn't grow up with his dad. Lencho has a dad and a mom, but you know, that's a special situation. And Omar and I would go over what that relationship is like, how that should play out on the page, what was important to him. Sometimes I would be like, okay, but I think this would make more sense, or I think this to me feels more compelling, or this feels more provocative, and this feels like it speaks more to what young people deal with, and maybe they don't get to read about so much in the books that are out there for them. So
Clarence is being nice. He's what he would do
and
is
Omar, nah.
what he remember. So you know we all the
Omar
same
likes to
type
say
of
that.
age. He would say, "I would put on the dunce hat and go stare at the wall."
Omar always likes to say this thing about the dunce hat. I would say the biggest thing, and this came up during our launch event, and someone asked if he, you know, if asked Omar if he has writer's block or create like a block to his creativity. No, never. In fact, it was the opposite. In fact, I was the one who was like, all right, so we're gonna have a 500-page book if we try to do everything that you just sat here. So we have to make some decisions.
Yep.
That was the process. So
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. So the origin of Nubia is also like the utopia, the references to West African culture, the magic system is really rich. So as you thought about that framework, the both of you, what were some of your inspirations? Was it totally like, did it from your ideas? Were you inspired by books, by movies, by television shows?
For me, I'm always inspired by life and imagination. And I just really, as I said earlier, like, you know, the tumult that we live in society, and I just kept envisioning my whole life, I've thought about the idea of a utopian society and what does that actually entail. And as I've gotten older, it gets more specific as to um, what that could really look like. What would that really mean? You know, now that I'm a fully grown man, a father, a husband, all these things, and it's just like, oh, this would maybe look like this, you know. And Clarence and I started talking about it, and it was like, well, what about this and what about that? And that's where the gifts came about in terms of um, human beings being able to access things that are available to us, but we can't grasp it yet because we haven't evolved in that way. But we're, you know, I look at it really simply, like, you know, the majority of our planet is underwater. It's a real pragmatic way of looking at things. I don't care about what you believe in, this, that, and the other, but the majority of the planet we live on is underwater. So what do we know about our planet? You know, I know when I was a kid growing up, you know, half of the textbooks I read, you know, these places, they said that nothing lives over there, nothing can survive over there. And now we got submersibles. It's like, oh, this whole other ecosystems here that we didn't know about. And that's fascinating to me because this is just this one planet. Now we have a solar system and a galaxy and so forth and so on. So we kind of move from that space of trying to figure that out, because that's the, you know, ultimately Nubia, the place that's, you know, it is the anchor of the story.
And to with Omar's point, it was figuring out how to sort of convey, give tidbits about a community that's living in a state of grace, and how we can hint at one's ability, especially via young people, their ability to get back to that place. And, you know, I for people who are watching, I think it's important to point out Nubia in this first book. What Nubia is hinted at. It's slowly revealed, and that's something to keep in mind as well, because we do start off very much in New York City in 2098. And so Nubia is a very mysterious thing that gradually it begins to become, you know, through the narrative, we begin to understand what it was, and we're going to continue to build on that. And then Isis, to your one thing I wanted to make sure to point out is that Omar and I did discuss like what sort of real world cultural elements should inform Nubian heritage, and so it's generally a mixture of Southern and West African cultures. And again, we just see little glimpses. We, you know, just in terms of the writing process, we couldn't have fit everything in. But
really quick to piggyback on that, also, the painstaking, one of the painstaking parts of it was finding these themes that are of now, so that the young reader can relate to that type of issue, but we stretch it to, as Clarence said, 2098. And it was like, what are the right things to talk about or discuss? And like, for instance, there's a theater, readers will get familiar with this theater when they read the book, but, you know, we thought it was important to call that theater the Carter Combs Theater, right? In traditional writing, in terms of, in our time, you might call it, I don't know, the Steve Jobs Theater or something like that. But, you know, I know from me in my mind, I'm like, well, 100 years from now, it's going to be Sean Combs and Sean Carter. That's going to be the new Paul Robeson, you know, stuff like that. And it was like all of those little elements and really building this world for these young minds, so they can envision, you know, the world that we created and the world that can be.
100% agree with that. That was one of the things that tagged um, the Carter Combs Theater. I loved it. Um, so let's go back to the characters. So Uzochi is not. I love Uzochi's character because he's super studious. He's a reader. You know, he's ostracized because of that, and he navigates it, and we see him grow as that. What was your inspiration for his character?
Uzochi is like that's my guy right there. Like he is who I would have wanted to be when I was his age. You know, essentially he represents the feeling of love. So all of the characters in essence represent a human emotion. And Uzochi is love. They're all teenagers, so it's an awkward time to exist in life, being a teenager, right? Like, you know, your skin's going through it, your body's growing, your bones are hurting, and but so that's Uzochi. And then Lencho represents the opposite of love in a sense. But what's so beautiful about Lencho is he's a revolutionary. He's a revolutionary. He's like Bobby Seale or something like that, you know, for his people. And then Zuberi, who's our female character, who's really kind of like you know, one of the most instrumental characters. She about that action, you know, because her father was a great warrior in Nubian folklore and just trained her and raised her and everything. So she represents the gray area in between love and hate, which is where most of us live, right? And I know that's kind of a airy-fairy way of explaining it, but that's really, you know, where it comes from. And then Clarence says, put on the dunce hat and go stare at the wall.
No. My job was to, because Omar had the in terms of this information, and then my job was then for us to sit down and figure out how to complicate things, how to complicate the characters, how to add the backstories, and be like, okay, maybe we can play with this here. And there were even early drafts where during our process with our editors, there's a feeling Uzochi was actually too perfect, and so we had to figure out ways in which to complicate him,
which I fought against. But Clarence is right. He has to be a flawed being, and I was like, no. But
I was with
the hero.
I very much was with. I felt very protective of Uzochi as well. It's very funny to hear us how we react to him. So,
real quick, I just saw some comments. Somebody's I don't know the name, but they were saying they were rewriting something. Keep at it. We write to rewrite. That's a great saying in writing. Like it's a never-ending process. So keep going, keep doing your thing.
Yeah,
everybody showing love. I love all of y'all back.
Yay! So people are excited to read it. I really enjoyed reading it. Yeah, I appreciated Uzochi and what he meant in the Lencho, and of course I love Zuberi. Yeah, I love strong Black women. But so I'm gonna take it a step way back. So y'all didn't know each other before you wrote the book together.
No.
So I know it's like a brotherhood, a friendship now, but like, how did that start? Were you like, oh, Mama, write a book? And then like Penguin Random House was like, Clarence is your guy, or like, how did that work?
So I was you know, I do a variety of freelance work in the industry. I actually have a long history as an editor. And so one of my people who I work with over at Hachette Book Group, she knows Omar's agent. Shout out to Todd Schuster and Erica Bowman. Hey, y'all. She said, oh, he has this project he's begun, this YA sci-fi fantasy book, and I think it would be great if he teamed up with a writer. I also have a writing background, and so would you be interested? At first I was like, wait, Omar Epps? I was like, sure, yeah. And then I saw it, I was like, oh, absolutely. It was a no-brainer, just in terms of who he is, the power of his work overall, the power of the story, and it was just such a no-brainer. And as we said in the beginning of the our talk here, you know, he's a New Yorker. We're New Yorkers from a particular time, so it just felt like a nice fit. And then just as we started to vibe and flow, I was like, oh, this is really working. So
yeah, for me it was kismet. You know, I shout out to Avitas Creative and Todd and Erica, and I was like, yo, I've never done this before, so I'm gonna need a co-writer, and so I had gotten some samples and stuff like that, and when I read some stuff from Clarence, I was like, okay. And then we had to have the vibe, right? Have the conversation and everything. And like I said, I gained a friend, and it's such a blessing. It's right along there with the book, because we have had so many conversations about life, our experiences, and he got it, you know, and I could feel his passion that, like I said before, this is a necessary story. So he was just all in, because Clarence, I don't even know if you remember this, but at the beginning, so I'm gonna just back up a little bit. We started this process before the pandemic, right?
yes, we do.
Oh, okay.
And none of us knew that was about to happen, right? So we were like in it, doing the thing, and then the lockdown happens. So now it's like, well, all we got is time. So we just started hitting it. And that's what I'm saying, these hours of conversations, you know, and well, not trying to blow you up, but he was in a different country this whole time. You know what I mean? So the timing of things, you know, I'm in New York, I'm in LA, you know, and we be on, you know, what we think is going to be like a 20-minute phone call would be like 2 hours, you know, and stuff like that. And so I just, I'm so thankful, because it made sense to my heart. Like, he gets it, you know, I get him, he gets me, and we're going to create magic.
One other thing I'd like to add is that a huge thing that's big on the book, and why I think it works as both a YA book, but then also for adults who want to read, the book deals so tremendously with parental legacies and parental impact, and that is so important to Omar. That is Omar. You know, the first time we met in person, we just had a beautiful, one of the most profound conversations I've ever had in my life around parents, mothers, fathers, grandparents, family relationships, how you navigate that. If it isn't what you wanted it to be, then how do you make decisions about your life that are still rich, and that's still where you can still fulfill your dreams? And we tried really hard to allow that to inform the narrative, to inform the book. So
Yeah, and I'm so happy you brought that up, because that was a question earlier. So yes, Nubia, The Awakening is classified as a YA book, but it can easily be enjoyed by adults in much the same way as Children of the Blood and Bone is a YA book, but can also be enjoyed by adults. Speaking about the intergenerationness of the book, I loved Aditya's character. And one of my favorite quotes by him is like, "Magnificent souls, welcome. You are, I am because you are." And I was like, I'm going to just use that all the time. I meant to open this slide that way, and then I forgot. What inspired Aditya? What inspired Aditya's character?
Adisa is actually one of my favorite characters in the book. What inspired Adisa was the griot. In African culture, we have only been able to retain our history because of the griots, the storytellers. And for the young people out there, you have to understand that we have been through so much as a people, and we have had to shift things, but keeping our history. You have to understand, for me personally and my family, my bloodline family, everything, the records stop at 1827. So Epps is not my natural last name. It's a name that was given to my ancestors that were slaves. So think about that as the native tongue as well. English is not our native language, and so forth and so on. And you keep going, right? And so Adisa is like the bell tower in the middle of the ocean, right? Or the whatever you call that thing when the planes are landing and you see the light blinking, and so the pilot can have sort of a guide to, okay, there goes the landing strip. That's what Adisa is to the Nubians. He's the oldest one. So he's passing on the history. And so when their gifts come to bear, he's the one that's sort of the intermediary for the young ones, like, oh, this is what this is. You know, the older ones are like, what's going on? We thought that was over with. And he's like, no, this is, you know, he's able to pass on the history and the significance of it. It's really, honestly, one of my favorite characters in the book, because he just comes in there and just whacks you with a bunch of, you know, knowledge, and you're like, oh, wasn't expecting that, you know. And then they got to go back and be teenagers, and that's how life happens.
Right.
That's like,
Right.
you know.
we had to there's actually more of a backstory for Adisa than we could have on the page. We had more about him, and we had to cut it down because it was getting, the story was getting too long.
Yeah.
So but you
See, that's another example of,
but that
when Clarence is like, put on the dunce hat and go stare at the wall.
There are no dunce hats here. And I mean, the thing about the richness of the material, this is book one of a series. So like a duology, a trilogy, something more than that. What are y'all thinking?
We're knee deep in developing book 2 right now, but it's going to be a trilogy, and it's going to be a film, and it's going to be a series. Like, you know, again, like I said before, I'm a creative guy, so, you know, my source is infinite because it's coming from the source, so it's infinite. So I can't stop, you know, and that's what, you know, Clarence and I being partners in that way. 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, yo, you up? Yo, listen to this. He's like, yo, can I just get some sleep right now? You know, but then, you know, I'll shoot something at him, and now he hit me at 5 in the morning.
it's
Yo,
true.
last night, that was fire. You know, maybe we should do it like this and do it like that. And then I'm sitting there like, it's 5 in the morning, dog. Like,
and what I sometimes struggled with as well is because realizing, as y'all know, Omar is, you know, a Renaissance man, so he's there doing this, doing that, doing this, and then sometimes I'd be sending him, if you were to see some of the texts I send him with like character ideas and a scene breakdown, and it's these long things, and I send it, and then I'm like, wait a minute, he might be on set, he might need to memorize the script, he might want to chill with his family right now, and I'm sending him the Dead Sea Scrolls, so that, you know, but it was there, and I was like, okay, no, I gotta get it out, I gotta see what he thinks, I gotta, you know, he'll tell me, you know, how to, what, you know, so that was the vibe.
Yeah, I love it. So the next question is for both of y'all. Y'all are both very talented creators in many different mediums. Y'all could have done anything. So why a YA West African fantasy, which is this new genre that I'm columbusing? Why this?
it was that that wasn't the intention. Like, you know, when I'm in my head creating things, it's not, I don't think of a genre, I don't think of a bucket, I don't think of a label. I'm just tapped into why the story needs to be told. So it was after I didn't even know it was a young adult sci-fi, you know what I mean? Until the process started happening, and I got to deal with a publisher, Penguin, shout out to Penguin Random House and Delacorte, and get Underline. I didn't even know that, you know? I technically didn't even know that was a thing. So for me, I always followed the creative part of it, and then as that part of the process was being told to me, it was like, okay, so how do we honor that, you know? And that's where Clarence comes in, when he was like, okay, some ideas, you know, he obviously he's had a stellar career, and so he's able to reference certain other books, and oh, this is kind of like that, and this may, you know, things that I wasn't aware of, you know what I mean? And that's where the partnership comes in, and I'm like, okay, you know, here's the dunce hat, I'll go stand face the wall.
No dunce hats here, but yes, we love the collaboration. So Clarence.
I want to, I also want to just piggyback on what Omar said. Shout out at our launch event that I was moderating. I forgot to shout out our editorial team. So shout out to our publisher, Beverly Horowitz, our editor extraordinaire, Krista Marino, and her assistant, who's also does editing work, Lydia Gregorovich. I might be mispronouncing her last name, but if they're watching, thank y'all. A lot of Penguin Random House people, by the way, are watching because it was shared on their internal memo. I've learned. So what's up, everybody? So thank you so much for all the hard work, and also a shout out to Josh and Cynthia and the publicity and marketing team. Just tremendous people. So I just wanted to say that.
Shout out to Krista.
Shout out, Sistah. Yeah, Omar. It was very interesting because when I read Omar's original draft, and I was like, okay, and then my brain, my brain was like, so okay, so this is connecting to this, and this is connecting to these type of stories, and I see a little bit of maybe comic book narrative stuff, and then I'm a huge, as you know, I'm a huge Octavia Butler person. So then just sort of my canon of knowledge and understanding potential ways to frame it and potential ways to honor what's come before, and then make sure what Omar has done feels fresh and new. I think particularly I think the world needs to really know that everything, all of the core ideas are all from Omar. So, and including the climate change angle and this task-driven city, that, I had nothing to do with that. Like, that was, all I could do is be like, here, let's talk about ways in which we can play, in terms of constructing the narrative. But all of the core stuff was Omar. So.
Aw, I love that. I love that. And I love like how this is going to sound really cheesy, but like the creation of it really came from the guidance and the wisdom of the universe. Because that makes me happy. My next, I think part of me wants to ask, which actors or actors would you like to play the three main characters in the TV show / movie? And I just want to add, somebody said that this will be, a couple questions that came up. I'm holding an art, so that's why it's a paperback. The pre-orders for the hardcover. And yeah, so who would you want to play your three main characters?
That's a great question. And I honestly don't know. In my perfect world, I would love to find, new faces, and help jumpstart their careers if that could even happen with something like this. But it's a business. You gotta package it up, right, as they say. But I don't have any faces that we've seen so far that I could be like, oh, this is the archetype, and that's not how we that's not how we designed it. It was just like, we want to be able to find Uzochi, find Lencho, find Zuberi, and it's just fresh faces that you've never seen before.
Also, one thing I will say, and this is a natural thing that's going to happen because of the cover of the book and who the three main characters are that Omar created. But Omar also created a fourth main character, and her name is Sandra, and she ain't on the book. But Sandra and Omar has had a lot of opinions and ideas when we were drafting the story around the direction for the character. But Sandra is she's the daughter of Praise in St. John, who is the Sky King of the technologically advanced city of New York, known as the Up High in the future. And she's his daughter, and she's the fourth perspective in the book. And so I just wanted to shout her out because, she's wait till you all just stay tuned. Stay tuned for book one.
So who we talking about? We talking about Zoe Kravitz, Michael B. Jordan. Where we going with this?
I know who I want to play Sandra, but I'm just gonna.
Yeah, me too. Honestly, it's only me and like 100 of my closest friends. So, Sandra's definitely a dark horse. I didn't mention her. I know like there's a post about it, Clarence. I didn't mention her because I'm like, she's a dark horse. So Yeah, I appreciate Sandra. Like, I, again, like the characters are so multifaceted that it makes them more compelling to me, which is really, really exciting. Which I also appreciated about Nubia the Awakening is that even though it's a YA book, the drama is not driven by them making stupid decisions, right? Which sounds really harsh, but sometimes you read a book and you're like, oh, the drama is all based around like, don't you just like don't do that, please. Like, but it's actually the tension is driven by really difficult and hard situations that they have to navigate through. And I really appreciated that as a reader. Is that something that was intentional or it just happened?
I can.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say no. I was go. You want to go, Omar?
No, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, that was intentional.
I was just gonna.
Again, we spoke about this kind of earlier. Like we really wanted to find a way. What are the correlations from then to now, right? And like, what would those issues be? And it's like, you know, you're gonna deal with all the isms, you know, classism, sexism, racism, you know, and okay, so how do we unpack that in this world? You know, it's a displaced people. Like, it's been really interesting to talk to people about the book, and because that displacement piece, it has really been like on a lot of people when you talk about immigrants and things of that nature. And I mean, you can speak to this better than me, Clarence, because I don't necessarily know that we actually thought about that hard. We just felt that it was a necessary piece. Like when you're putting the puzzle together, it's like, this makes sense, you know, but not knowing, you know, we can't predict what's happening in the world now. We didn't know you know, this is like a hot button topic for people now. And it just so happens that, well, we already wrote that then and it's coming out now. You know, those are the things you can't predict when you're writing a book, I guess.
I was just everything Omar said. It was all Omar. That was something about it's so funny that you pointed that out, Isis, because that was something that I so appreciated about Omar's vision around that, is that I was like, oh, these kids, they're not dumb, they're not doing things that like, well, why would you do that? Like, it was really, there was just never any of that. Like, it was really just like creating this world where there are really some challenging circumstances that they have to face, and they're figuring out a way to survive and have some power for themselves. And that, you know, I just really appreciated that, because I know that sensibility that you're talking about, you know, where, and that was what I wanted to point out. That was just never a thing. And that's exactly where Omar's head is at, in terms of like thinking about the larger world and what young people are facing now and what they might have to face in the future. I would also say, I think it's I've said this to you before, Omar. I think it's about being New Yorkers and growing up at a certain time and just having no time for no BS, and just a certain sensibility that I think we both just have when it comes to that stuff.
Agreed. And I just want to bring Ice Cream and the Pants comments into the conversation. They're in the car, but they're like, I hear talk to the screenplay, a movie, a television show. And they definitely say that there should be more Black-centered science fiction and fantasy films. So we'll have at least one watcher. What I think would be really cool is that either one or both of you read your favorite excerpt from the book, if you feel open to it. No pressure.
Oh, right now?
I think it'd be cool.
I don't have one next to me. Do you have that, Clarence? Can you do it?
I do. I don't. But I haven't thought about what I have.
Well, what I can do is NubiaTheAwakening.com.
Yes, I mean, because that is going to be a question. Like, I for real want the shirt and the sweatshirt and the jacket and the pin. Like, that'll be a follow up. I'll be messaging like, you Clarence shirt in a random house. Like, how do I get this cool shirt in my life?
Shout out to PRPS, doing a collab with them for the merch. So definitely check that out. NubiaTheAwakening.com, and then toss it to Clarence.
Okay, that's it. NubiaTheAwakening.com. I have my homework now, so yes, I'm excited. Okay, Clarence, whenever you're ready.
Hold on.
Got to be something from Adisa.
No,
Right?
I'm
well,
here for it.
I don't want to give okay, I'm gonna start with Omar's favorite character, or I shouldn't say it's his favorite character, but a character he connects to, Uzochi. Uzochi's favorite class was his 0-period special elective with its roster of rotating topics. Here, in the early dawn course that was only taken by students who wanted to excel, he found peace. In this class, no one judged him for arriving 5 minutes early or for his color-coded notes, yellow, orange, and royal blue being his favorite hues. No one laughed behind their hands, but he soared to the top of the digital scoreboard during review games. No one whispered among their friends while he tried to concentrate on his tests. No, in 0-period special electives, Uzochi sat among peers who, like him, were dedicated to something greater, who really wanted something, and willing to sacrifice an extra 2 hours of sleep per day to achieve it. And I'll just leave it. There. So that's the snapshot of Uzochi, and who I think would be seen as the main character, who is the book's official protagonist, as we like to say. You know, people who pick up the book will see that his head's in a certain space at the very beginning of the narrative. It's a perfect way to also talk about a part of the world building that I'm very proud of, that Omar and I worked really hard on. So in this New York City, there's a fascination with going high. There's a sky city, the city side called the Up High. People who are poor, who are not born up high, who don't have a lot of money, through various ways, through getting a special job or through scholarships, they can ascend. And that would be their way of getting away from rising sea levels, from poverty, from violence, all of these things that sort of afflict this future New York. Also, there's a drug that's very popular called elevation. And again, it's this idea of you go high, you get high, to get away from what's below. And that's a constant recurring theme of the book. So Uzochi's big goal in the beginning is to ascend. He's a brilliant student, and so he wants to earn a scholarship so that him and his mom can go live up high in the technologically advanced part of New York City. So,
And that Uzochi struggle, right, was so moving to me. Like, there's a part in the book, he's like, I just want to study. I just want to get my scholarship. I just want to ascend. And like, why is everybody asking me for so much? And that really resonated with me. So as like two very successful Black men, as y'all wrote that scene for Uzochi, like how did some of your own life experience feed into writing his frustration?
I think Clarence alluded to that a little earlier. I think both of us put a lot of our life experiences into each character. It's a version of it, and we just really tried to honor the characters, because I think it's important that the readers have not just different points of view, but like a voice that that's vicariously speaking for them. Like, oh, I relate to that train of thought because, that's how I think, and so forth and so on. And that's why I thought it was important that it was the book came from a perspective of a developing mind, because that's really where life was really shaped, right there. And that I guess you call it a span of 3 years. The mind is a sponge. It's very heavily influenced. So we were intentional about that as well. And Uzochi is he's that guy. He's ultimately he's T'Challa, but he's just 14 now. He ain't get there yet.
It's true. And his mom is definitely Ramada. Like, I love the fact that she calls him Dear Heart. I was like, that's like the sweetest thing ever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Or even like, and I want to shout out real quick. I want to shout out Clarence for so many nuances. You know, when they refer to when they say goddess, you know, in our language, we think you're referring to a person, but they're referring to God. You know, and that came from Clarence. Those sort of nuances and subtleties. Um, um, I don't know if I said this, but I just learned so much. You know, I'm fearless in having an experience, but I want to master whatever that craft is. And, you know, I became an actor from writing, so I already had the confidence, but actually doing it was extremely intimidating and all of that stuff. Because, you know, I hopefully my career has shown people that I always try to put my best foot forward and I don't like slack in it. And so I'm just very thankful to Clarence because I was a student the whole time. I was just learning about like each morsel of every speck of dust, every particle of air had to matter, had to have a purpose. So yeah.
And I love that. There's definitely a scene where it's like Zuberi saying, "Oh my goddess," and I was like, "Yes, say that." Like, so yes, thank you for calling that out, Omar, and thank you for that guidance, Clarence.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. I think Uzochi's journey is about becoming who he's, and this of course speaks to what Omar was saying around his original vision for the characters, becoming who he's meant to be, who he's supposed to be, and having to let go of who he thought. That passage I just read is really about who he thought he would be, what he thought he was supposed to do, and his path is going to take him into a different place. And so that's something that I find very, I can relate to. And I can also relate to that idea of not fitting in, but then at a later time being the reasons why I didn't fit in. Other people very, very much appreciate, you know, those elements of you know, who I am. So, you know, in terms of the character, I connected with him on that level. But as Omar said, each of the characters as well, you know, what I like about the characters is I think readers will find, I think readers are going to have favorites, but I think with each character readers will find something that they can connect to. I feel really confident about that. I connect a lot at times to Sandra, which I can't believe.
You telling on yourself, Clarence. Okay, so that's a great next question, and then we'll transition to my second favorite part of these lives, which is the this or that questions. And my first favorite part is everything we've done thus far. So, we'll do round robin. Clarence, we'll start with you. Who was your favorite character in Nubia: The Awakening? And you can only pick one.
I can only pick one.
You can only pick one.
It can be any character.
Any character.
Rihanna.
Okay, you took my character. Omar, oh, so you're sticking with the DC station.
He's one of my favorite characters is Uzochi.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good one. Mine is also Brianna. I think that's she's so sweet. She has a dope character. She has a dope power. She's so sweet. I like the way she moves in the book. And I like her sense of fashion. So yeah, she's also my favorite.
And she's you know, when Omar's speaking of archetypes and stuff, she is she's, you know, that feeling. I don't know if it's Eros desire, but that feeling, that, you know, Omar once said that all hoods, everyone, Black folks, we all have a Rihanna in our lives. That's just like,
like that safe space. Like I was just like, yes, I'm here for it. So her character made me super happy. What should we expect in book 2? No, don't answer that. When should we expect it? Not what, but when. So we can get ready.
Wait, say that again.
When should we expect?
You said scratch the book 2, then?
No.
She said, scratch what's in book 2, when is it coming?
Oh, when? Oh, man. That I'm not sure of. I mean, it's coming sooner than I expected, at least. I've never been through this process before, so the stars must be aligning, because Penguin's like, hey, we need a manuscript by this date. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
It'll be next year,
like,
right?
I think so. It depends.
Wait.
But I think that's when it's being aimed for. Figuring out some scheduling
For
stuff.
2023.
We'll see. Don't quote us on that. Don't quote us on that.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Still
there's no obligation. Move with ease, but
I was gonna say we can't talk about what's gonna happen in book 2 because it's just gonna, but it's gonna be wild. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, awesome. Okay, so this or that. So the first one, I'll start with Black Panther. No, Black Lightning or Luke Cage. Black Lightning or Luke Cage.
I'm gonna go with Luke Cage.
Luke Cage.
That's because y'all are both from New York. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
No bias.
And that's, I mean, yes. Next question. Arthur Kid Catwoman or Halle Berry Catwoman?
Wait, say that again, please.
Arthur Kid Catwoman or Halle Berry Catwoman?
Oh, Eartha Kitt.
Oh, okay.
You going with Halle Berry?
I love Halle Berry, so this is a very difficult question.
It is.
Choice for me.
It is. I mean,
can I abstain?
Nah, you got to answer the question, yo. You got to jump in.
Omar says you got to answer.
Eartha Kitt.
Okay. 90%
shout out to Halle Berry.
Yeah, I mean, Halle Berry's great. Don't get me wrong. And 90% of people say Eartha Kitt. So I might have a couple after this. Erykah Badu or Janelle Monáe?
Janelle Monáe.
How are you doing this to me?
Yo, Clarence, you're not a politician. You're entitled to your opinion.
I take these things deep. These artists, they enter my soul, Omar. Like,
I know, me too, but I'm just. You gonna go with Erykah Badu?
I think I would say Badu.
They are both great answers. So I actually never answered that question on camera. I just asked the question. Yeah. I feel really this one. Thank you so much, both of you, for your craft in writing this book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed the characters and the world building. I cannot wait for book 2 and book 3. I'm hoping we will spend more time in like Nubia before, and maybe Nubia in the future. Nubia in the future would be dope, but honestly, I have no control over what happens.
You see our face? You see our faces, right?
Yeah. I love adaptions, so I'm excited that that's in the works, and I just know that it'll be beautiful no matter who you decide to act in it and write the screenplay. So I'm really grateful as a reader that you decided to make this. And I'm really excited for these shirts. So
Thank you. And I'd be remiss if I didn't just shout you out. Thank you so much for not just hosting us and having us, but for what you do. It's important for our culture, and you have a lane of your own, and that's a very exciting thing. And so thank you, and we honor you for accepting us into your space and allowing us to be on your platform. And it's just so we're so appreciative of that, and we salute you.
Thank you. But I'm not gonna cry on camera because I'm not. But thank you. That means a lot to me. So you'll be back when y'all are like doing the tour for book 2. I'm excited about it. So have a great Wednesday. Thank you for winding down with the Sistah Sci-Fi crew.
Yeah. Everybody, thank y'all for joining us, and go cop that book, Nubia the Awakening, out now.
Tell everybody. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, gentlemen.
All right.
Bye-bye.